A very good morning to my dear students of class 7. As you all know, we have already started the chapter from the textbook, that is Jimmy Valentine, written by the famous American writer O. Henry. I have already given you a brief introduction about the story in the previous video, but still let me recapitulate the summary of the story in brief. Jimmy Valentine, he is the protagonist, or he is the hero of the story, and he is a safe cracker. He is a person who used to crack the safe or rob the safe. He was in fact a thief. Therefore, because of his very habit of burglary, because of his very habit to rob, he was being sent to prison. But since he had a connection with the people of high positions, with the people of high officials or people of high ranks, he was being sent out of the prison. He was being released from the prison within the short span of 10 months. So after getting released from the prison, did Jimmy Valentine leave his old habit of burglary, old habit to rob, safes, to crack safes? Did he leave his old habit as a thief? No. Again, after coming out of the prison, Jimmy thought to rob a bank in a place named Elmer. So he goes to Elmer in order to find out the information about the bank. But interestingly, there he falls in love with a girl named Annabelle, who was the daughter of the bank manager. But till now, in this course of time, there is a detective whose name is Ben Price. He is still after Jimmy Valentine. He is still keeping Jimmy Valentine under his surveillance so as to find out whether Jimmy is again back to his way or not. And meanwhile, Jimmy and that lady love falls in love with each other, and they finally agree to get engaged to each other. Then after, in this course, when Jimmy falls in love with that girl Annabelle in the place called Elmer, he thinks of leaving his old habit of burglary behind, and he starts a new business, shoe business. There he becomes prosperous and he becomes a good businessman, a rich businessman. But what happens interestingly is that one of the relatives of his girl Annabelle, a little girl, playfully she shuts herself in a new safe, in a new vault, and no one could open it because it was new. And at that very time, when no one was there to help Annabelle's relative to come out of that safe, she asks Jimmy Valentine to open it. But although Jimmy Valentine had already left his habit of burglary, he does not think about being arrested again by the detective Ben Price. He brings back his burglary tools and opens up the safe and releases the girl who is being shot in the safe. But then now, after that, Jimmy Valentine is sure to be caught by the detective because he uses his burglary tools to open the safe. And now hence the detective would come to know that Jimmy Valentine is still a robber and he's still a safe cracker. But when that detective Ben Price comes to know that how Jimmy Valentine rescued the child who was being shot in the safe, he does not arrest him. Instead, the detective, he leaves Jimmy Valentine, he frees Jimmy Valentine so that he could live an honest life henceforth with his lady love Annabelle. So this is the brief summary of the story Jimmy Valentine that you have in your textbook. Now let us understand the story in detail through this short slideshow presentation. Author introduction. A remarkable American short story writer, O. Henry was born on September 11, 1862, died on June 5, 1910, birth name William Sidney Potter, pseudonym O. Henry, parents Dr. Algernon Sidney Potter and Mary Jane Virginia Potter. Notable works are The Gift of Magi, The Ransom, The Red Chief, The Last Leaf, The Cobb Anthem, etc. A retrieved reformation or Jimmy Valentine was published in the year April 1903. Now we shall move on to the role of characters. Jimmy Valentine, the protagonist or the hero of the story, Ralph D. Spencer, Jimmy's changed name when he is in place named Elmer, Ben Price, the police detective, Mr. Adams, a local bank owner, Annabel Adams, daughter of Mr. Adams and love of Jimmy Valentine, Mike Dolan, Jimmy's friend, Agatha and May, they are nieces of Annabel Adams. Now, short picturization of the story Jimmy Valentine by O. Henry. Jimmy Valentine, a safe cracker. Jimmy is imprisoned for safe cracking. After his release from the prison, Jimmy plans to rob a bank in Elmer. He falls in love with Annabel Adams. Ralph D. Spencer, or Jimmy, helps to rescue the child without giving into the fear of revealing his own identity as a safecracker. Ben Price, who came to Elmer with the intention of arresting Jimmy, finally leaves him to enjoy his new life as a fine man. Now of the story. The story centers around Jimmy Valentine, a habitual offender who turns out to be a good and honest man for his lady love. Through the story, the author O. Henry conveys the moral to his readers that honesty is the best policy. Honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. Conspectus or detailed overview of the story Jimmy Valentine. Valentine was a safecracker. The story begins with the protagonist Jimmy Valentine's release from prison. Though he was imprisoned and sentenced for 4 years, he got released after 10 months because of his good behavior. Upon release, he returns home to retrieve his safe-cracking tools and then leaves town. Meanwhile, Ben Price, the detective who arrested Valentine, begins to suspect Valentine is back to his old ways after a string of cash robberies of safecracking. Valentine has traveled to Elmer, where he intends to rob the local bank owned by Mr. Adams. There, instead, he falls in love with Annabel Adams, who happens to be the banker's daughter. He decides to become a shoemaker, taking the pseudonym Ralph D. Spencer. After less than a year, Valentine or Spencer is doing well for himself. Business is going well and he earns a respectable status in the society. Mr. Adams agrees to give his daughter in marriage to Ralph D. Spencer. He is now engaged to marry Annabel in 2 weeks. Valentine writes a letter to his friend asking him to collect his old safe-cracking tools, which was specially made by Jimmy himself. Valentine determines he won't need them anymore. Unfortunately, the letter is received by Ben Price and he rushes to Elmer to arrest Valentine. He sees Valentine carrying his tools. Ben Price waits outside and watches. Annabel's father now shows off the bank's new safe. Annabel's nieces May and Agatha play in and around the safe until one girl traps the other inside by accident. As the safe is brand new, it hasn't yet been hooned. It has no combination. Annabel asks Valentine to help. He knows that he can help, but that in so doing, he risks losing his new life. Ultimately, he decides to use his skill and tools to save the girl. Valentine is successful. The girl is freed from the safe. Ben Price, the detective, watches everything. Valentine approaches Price, but he walks away
and leaves Valentine to marry Annabel and enjoy his new life.